Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo, and I am joined by my two heartbroken co-hosts behind the computer, wearing his one pride shirt proudly from now until September. It is Bruce, the tugboat Venditti.
What's up? What's going on? I'm not actually wearing an Oregon shirt, but all right.
And just probably so upset that next Monday night he's going to have to sit and watch Tom Brady versus Dak Prescott, the one and only.
Isn't that a fucking
Uncle
shit
Sam.
show?
No, it's going to be a fabulous affair.
Shit show. I don't know who's worse, Dak Prescott or Geno Smith. I'm still debating this.
Well, the NFL regular season has officially concluded.
Thank God.
And you know what? I was actually sad for Lions fans yesterday because they did what they had to do. And Baker it was the Rams. The Rams just absolutely mash fucked them one last time.
Which
Bruce,
in a very winnable game.
a very winnable game, a game that they had won 3 different times.
Correct. And I don't want to get
was-
into the calls that were in that game, but
At the end of the day,
The officiating in that game was absolutely putrid,
yes, but in the end,
especially near the end of the game.
in the end of the day, they had opportunities to
Correct.
win the game.
Correct. If they could have made a couple plays here and there, you know, Geno Smith was. I don't even know what to say about him. He is not the Geno Smith that started out this year.
well, he also yesterday broke the Seahawks franchise passing yard record,
Okay.
if you can believe that. So Geno
Well,
Smith.
why
is the
are
record
you
holder.
surprised by that?
Because Russell Wilson was there for 10 years.
Yeah, but if you remember, that team with Russell Wilson didn't predicate on the pass. They were a run, smash you in the face football team.
Listen to me. Geno Smith is supposed to be nothing more than a 1-year flash in the pan, just a guy to get through. And here they are in the playoffs now. Nobody expected anything from this team.
Can't
So
take it away
I will
from them. I
say-
mean, they earned it.
I will say what this Seahawks team accomplished, a playoff berth. Geno Smith, the franchise record in passing yards. Geno Smith probably playing good enough to earn himself a starting position elsewhere next year.
You think so? You don't
Yeah,
think
I
he'll
do.
be back with the Seahawks?
I mean, if he is back with the Seahawks, he's going to be the starting quarterback. He's not just going to be a guy that they're throwing in the slot
Right.
just to get by, you know.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. I mean,
Before we get into the games, let's break down what the playoffs look like going forward. So,
I need to turn that up. Go ahead.
1 seeds, we have Kansas City in the AFC. So, Kansas City will get a bye next week. Which again, take that with a grain of salt, because did they really earn that spot? Yes, but the Bills also could have. So that leads us to a scenario where we have a neutral field for the AFC Championship if those two teams play each other. But that's beside the point. 1 seed in the NFC is Philadelphia. Obviously, even after they dropped the 2 with Gardner Minshew playing, they are still the number 1 seed and will get the first round bye. Then 2 seeds, we have obviously Buffalo, San Francisco. So they're going to play the lowest seeds. 3 other division winner, Minnesota and Cincinnati. 4 was the South, because both teams barely made it in as it was, Tampa Bay and Jacksonville. And then the wild card teams, The Chargers in Dallas, the Giants in Baltimore, and Miami and Seattle, the two teams that barely made it in. But before we get into the scores of those games that were played over the weekend, I'll tell you this. There's a lot of teams that are rated higher that I'm not nearly as scared of as some of these lower seeded teams and or wildcard teams. Like, in my personal opinion, outside of, like, Miami doesn't really scare me. Baltimore obviously doesn't scare me. Buffalo can be beat. Realistically, I wouldn't be shocked to see a Jacksonville or the Chargers get hot. I mean, obviously they didn't play very
They got to
well
play
yesterday.
each other this week, so they're gonna. One of them are gonna be out.
That game, to me, is probably the best game on the schedule from the AFC this weekend. I can't wait to see that game. And then in the NFC, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be shocked. You know, Dallas, even though they were fighting for the 1 seed yesterday, their record reflects this fabulous organization. Dallas doesn't scare me. They played all their starters yesterday. They looked awful.
Yeah, and the Giants had all their starters, and you've seen what happened.
Yeah, that Giants Minnesota game is the biggest fluke
Washington.
of a playoff game.
Washington sat all their starters offensively, basically,
and
except for Terry
Dallas
McLaurin and Dodson,
and popped Dallas in the mouth
and popped them in the booty.
Mm-hmm. Dallas doesn't scare me at all.
They look like Minnesota. Shit. You know, somebody had a valid point there. Every time they've played on natural grass, they've got their asses handed to them. They don't play well on grass because they're not able to utilize their speed.
Raymond James Stadium is natural grass, so
yes. So that gives an advantage to Tampa. And yeah, if you remember, they got ass popped in the first game of the year by Tampa.
They did.
Yeah, on grass.
To me, the Minnesota and Giants game is the biggest fluke of a playoff game there is.
I think that's going to be a good game.
Well, yeah, but it's going to be a good game between two teams that aren't that good. You know what I'm saying? Minnesota's so much worse than their record reflects. They're the only division winner to ever have a minus point differential. They're -5 on the season and would they win 13 games, 14 games?
They're beatable.
They're extremely beatable.
Both of those teams are beatable. Both of those teams can get hot.
And they play Sunday at 1:30.
Right. So you know what that means. Kirk Cousins should have a day.
1 o'clock. No, it's not 1 o'clock. It's 1:30.
Oh, that's right. That 30 minutes
then,
might make a difference.
And then you have Seattle and San Francisco. And guess what? I don't think it mattered if Seattle was in that spot, Green Bay was in that spot, the Lions were in that spot.
It wouldn't have mattered. I don't think it would have mattered if Detroit, Seattle, or Green Bay is in that spot.
Well, whoever's
playing Frisco's got their work cut out for them just to stay in that game and not get blown out.
If it was anybody who had a chance, I think it was the Lions.
Well, no, if it was anybody who had a chance, I would say it would have been Green Bay, because every year it seems like San Francisco and Green Bay meet up. San Francisco's way better, and then Green Bay pops them in the mouth. But I don't even think that's going to be a game, personally. So the two games I'm most excited for, and I can't wait to talk about on Friday.
Why don't we talk about the games that have happened this week, and then we can go forward with that, no?
That's where I'm going.
Okay.
Two games I'm personally most excited for: Jacksonville Chargers and Tampa Bay Dallas. And I'm excited to fully break those down on Friday. But week 18, regular season's over.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of games that were winner in. Now, a lot of these games also didn't really matter. I'll tell you what. Loved the Jaguars-Titans game. Personally, loved that Bills Patriots game. That was one of the most exciting games of the weekend. But let's start off with the Chiefs Raiders. Obviously, the Chiefs headed to Vegas and took care of their business. Locked up the 1 seed. Final on this one was 31-13. Jarrett Stidham, quarterback of the future for the Raiders.
It's looking like it.
I mean, the kid just you know what he reminds me of? Derek Carr. As fucked up as that is, he reminds me of Derek Carr. Mahomes looks real cute again. He got really cute.
Ring around the rosy, pocket full
Yeah.
of posy.
Did you see that little cyclone play?
Are you gonna answer? He can't see you.
Yeah,
so you shaking your head.
What?
He's asking you.
What? Asking me what? I didn't hear you. I'm
I mean,
sorry.
Am I talking to myself here?
No, you're just really low.
Did you see the ring around the rosy play that?
Oh,
Chiefs
that was
did?
stupid.
They practiced
Your
that
fucking
10
brain.
times apparently.
That's so stupid.
15 times.
It was real cute. I
It's
thought you'd
stupid.
love it. I thought you would love it. Obviously, Darren Waller had a couple receptions in this game. Renfro had a nice touchdown catch. Overall, I think if
The Raiders secondary is horrible,
Josh
dude.
Jacobs.
They're fucking
the
awful.
Raiders
dude.
secondary is awful, Josh Jacobs is the most inconsistent running back in football. But I mean,
Didn't
talk
he
about a
watch the
guy when
game from the hospital.
What?
Wasn't he at the hospital during the game?
Who?
Josh Jacobs.
I don't know.
His dad had surgery.
Bruce, what? He was 17 for 45.
That
Anyways,
Chiefs defense looked good. They looked ready. They were
the
prepared.
Chiefs. I was going to say.
I mean, the offensive
they
line for the
stifled them
Raiders
well.
looked
He does
shaky.
last week.
Yes, I agree with you there too. The Raiders could not establish anything in the run game. I don't know how to feel about Stidham because at moments he looks like he could be a really good professional quarterback, and then other times it's just awful, much like Derek Carr. But the Raiders, the Chiefs, the one good thing they showed me in this game is their offensive line played pretty well. And their defensive front, everybody sleeps on the Chiefs' defense, but their defensive front, I really think it is probably a top 5 in football right now. They are getting so much
better
pressure.
than they were last year because they were awful last year. That front,
Yes.
it was Chris Jones and maybe Frank Clark once in a while, but you got these guys flying all over the place now.
Oh yeah, I mean they've got some serious playmakers up front. I'm going to be honest with you. The Chiefs win these games, and you sit there and you're like, you don't really understand how, because if you're looking at the stat sheet, I mean, Mahomes didn't blow off the sheet at you this weekend. He wasn't that cute. It was 18 for 26, 202 yards and a touchdown. Pacheco, 64 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, but that game wasn't even close. It
wasn't
the score
even.
doesn't reflect the
That's
game.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't even close, and you're sitting here like, what the fuck? Do you think this Chiefs team could be in the Super Bowl?
Yes. I think the road for the AFC goes through Kansas City, period.
Regardless.
Period.
Okay. I'm starting to agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I would love to see? I would love to see the road for the AFC go through Jacksonville.
That's not going to
The
happen.
Titans.
That's not going to happen. You know what?
The Titans.
I'm telling you right now, they got a really, really tough matchup this week. They got to see how Mike Williams is, because if he's unable to go, I think that's a plus for Jacksonville.
If Mike Williams doesn't play, okay, just because we've seen what the Chargers look like when they're missing one of their pieces, if Mike Williams doesn't play, you have to say, I'd take Jacksonville in this game. We've seen this offense when it's
Jacksonville looked good this week, but I'll tell you what, they had a
They
really
didn't look
tough
good this week.
physical game.
I didn't think Jacksonville looked good this week. I think this is the worst game they've played in a while.
Well, I mean, they were physically getting beat up. Their secondary didn't look good. They were shaky. You know,
Absolutely.
Trevor Lawrence made the throws when he had to, but I'll tell you what, he left a lot of points on the field.
Oh no, it was not pretty.
We can go into that. Are we going into that game right now?
Yes, we are. Absolutely, we are. The Jaguars beat the Titans 20-16 in Duval County. Josh Dobbs got the start for the Titans. They might as well have just put Derrick Henry in at quarterback. But
I don't know about that. You know what? I thought Josh Dobbs was efficient. Yeah, man. 20 of 29, 179, a touchdown and a pick. I'll tell you what, he was pretty damn efficient. And he looked a fucking hell of a lot better than Malik Willis would ever look. And I think they found themselves a true backup there. Now they got to figure out what they're going to do as far as a quarterback because they're done. Is Mike Vrabel going to keep his job?
I think Vrabel
Today's
will
Black
keep his
Monday.
job.
Lovey got it last night.
And you know what? I was kind of surprised to see Lovey get it last night. I really thought after that,
at least
that
waited for that. I thought they were going to wait till today, but evidently they didn't. There's a lot of speculation in that game, but Trevor Lawrence was modest at best. Travis Etienne was ineffective. 7 carries for 17 yards.
They could not run the ball on the Titans.
No, their offensive line struggled big time against that front. And I was impressed with the in front for Tennessee because they haven't shown any moxie all year. This is the first game I've seen them show a little moxie.
I will say that was Tennessee's best defensive game in a while.
Yeah.
The issue was they just, you know what Jacksonville's starting to look like? They make the plays when they have to. Like they're getting. Yeah.
They only had the ball 23 minutes too. I mean, come on, man. I mean, what are you going to do? Tennessee had the ball for 36 minutes, but Tennessee turned the ball over twice in key areas of the game, and I think that's what buried them.
That's what kept this game close.
Correct.
Was Tennessee's were the errors. I mean, realistically, because you're right, Josh Dobbs did not play bad enough to lose them this game. Derrick Henry ran the ball 30 times for 100 yards. I mean, they did what they had to do.
Yeah.
They did what they had to do to win this, but it just the mistakes.
They were selling out on the run, though. I'll tell you that much.
Yes, they were.
Yep. Jacksonville's defense was selling out on the run just about on every play.
Agree.
That's why that's why their secondary kind of got torched a little bit because they were looking in the backfield most of the day.
Right. If Jacksonville can play like we know they can, right? If Trevor Lawrence is,
they got a tough game coming up this week. Like I said, if some of these guys for the Chargers are healthy, this should be a great game. I would not favor them in this game. I'm not going to, me personally, but I think I think it might be the best game out of all the playoff games coming up this week.
You're a man of matchups, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I love the matchup.
I just think it's competitive. I think you've got two equally good teams that are going to go up against each other. That can make a great game.
I mean, look at this game between them and Tennessee. These teams play each other 2 times a year. And this was a battle.
Well, this was a battle. Listen, I know you guys laugh at me about divisional games, but divisional games are highly fought, hard, gritty games that can go either way anytime.
That was the true definition of your hard-nosed divisional game.
Yes. There's a couple of games like that. The
Lions game was a pretty good example, too.
Yeah.
Playing rough.
It was.
Dirty game.
I don't even want to talk about this.
I mean, the Buccaneers game, what are you going to say here? Tom Brady sat down after the second quarter. What are you going to say? The Falcons won the game 30-17.
Brady 84 yards, and then he got the yank. Gio Bernard was the leading rusher.
They were tied 10-10 when Brady went out. So
Algier.
It is what it is.
Algier, 135 yards and 24 attempts. Nice little game. Drake London, 120 yards and 6 receptions. I'm not gonna lie, the Falcons played a pretty good game. Desmond Ridder didn't make any mistakes. Threw a couple of touchdown passes.
Well,
finally.
it's easy to do when you're playing against a whole second team of fucking another team.
I know.
So I'm not even going to talk
aware.
about that. But I've seen some second teams come in and lay a walloping on first team guys. So it is what it is. This game was basically absolutely meaningless.
It was pointless.
Kind of a waste of time to even watch, but it is what it is. What are you going to say? Moving on.
The New England Patriots headed up to Buffalo to play the Bills. The Bills bested them 35-23 with the help of 2 kickoffs returned for a touchdown from Nyheim Hines, including the opening kickoff of the game. Obviously, a lot of emotion in this one with everything that happened over the week previously. But Bills took care of their business.
I will say this on that
Patriots
second kickoff return, there was a hold that they missed, and it was on a former player of the Lions, Tavai. He was being held right where the play went through. They did not throw the flag, so it is what it is. What are you going to do? They're at home. They got all the momentum. They got all the
I know
glory.
you're very upset.
Listen,
I know you're very upset.
I'm not upset.
I'm
not upset. I thought
got
Mac
eliminated.
Jones, for the most part, played a good game until the fourth quarter. He was trash in the fourth quarter. I thought
Mac
Devontae
Jones.
Parker made some huge plays. He had 2 touchdowns. Devontae Parker, I don't think he's had 2 touchdowns all year.
I don't think he's had 2 touchdowns in the last 5 years.
But yeah, he was impressive. And I'll tell you what, this was a divisional game. And like I said, if they could stay in it, they could stay in it early. And they did for most part. It was tied at the half, 14-14. I mean, they survived the emotional onslaught that they got from the beginning of that game.
Listen.
I don't know what you're shaking your head about, but I know I'm right on that. And I told you,
but Mac Jones, you're going to sit here and talk about
game.
You're going to sit here and talk about how good Mac Jones played. He had 3 interceptions, crucial interceptions.
At the end of that, I said he played good in that game till the fucking fourth quarter. He was trash.
That's like performing good heart surgery right until you go to sew the guy up. At the end of the day, Mac Jones.
I wouldn't know that. You'd have to ask that guy in the hospital there in Buffalo. I have no idea.
Mac Jones is not the start. Should not be the starting quarterback of the Patriots. At the end of the day, Matt Patricia needs to be gone. The play calling at the end of this game was awful. They never established the run against the Buffalo defense that you have to. It was awful. I'm sorry, but you want to sit here and make excuses for the Patriots week after week.
I'm not making any excuses.
Yes,
dude.
you do.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not making excuses here. What did I say?
Mac Jones played great for 3 quarters.
He did. He looked good for 3 quarters, and he was absolute trash at the end there. And it's not easy to play catch up, especially on a team that's at home.
They weren't playing
and they know you got to throw the football. You're done.
The entire first half, they had chance after chance to win that, to take advantage of that game. They didn't.
It was a hard.
Damian Harris was completely ineffective running the football. You only gave the ball to Stevenson 6 times. Mac Jones,
who was ineffective running the football?
Harris.
The Patriots?
Yes.
They had 107 yards rushing. Buffalo had 90.
And guess what?
I don't know.
How many times can we see over and over again? And where do you want to say Buffalo had 9?
They had 90.
9 rushes, 45
They had
yards.
90 yards rushing.
Oh, I thought you said 9.
90.
Guess what? Buffalo doesn't need to run the football. You would be the first person to say.
Listen, the only team that can get away with not running the football is Kansas City.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is there ever a scenario where Mac Jones should throw the ball 40 times?
Well, you have to. When you're behind, that's why he threw the ball 40 times. They were behind by 10. What did you expect for him to do?
It was tied at the half.
Correct. And then they were down by 10. At the end of the third quarter, they were down by 10.
Also.
And that's when that's when Buffalo started jumping the routes. And that's
when
you're relying on
Devontae. When you're relying on Devontae Parker to win you the game.
Anyway,
it's over.
It's a shit show. It is what it is.
Buffalo
Belichick
already came out.
Patriots are
already
out.
came out. Okay. Belichick already came out and said he will be back next year.
Who?
Wow.
Bill
Who?
Belichick.
Who?
Oh, Belichick.
What?
Next up, in a game that actually had some ramifications for the first overall pick in the draft, had Chicago is now on the clock because Lovie Smith decided to win yesterday. It made no sense to me, but we'll talk about that game in a second. Minnesota just stuck their Peters inside of Nathan Peterman. This game was almost as awful as the Tampa Atlanta game. Minnesota locked up their playoff spot.
Listen, yeah, me taking the Bears was a fluke. It wasn't serious, by the way. But what?
I mean,
he took the Bears too. You think you actually took the Bears? Did you actually
Who?
take the Bears? You.
I didn't take the Bears.
Yeah, you did.
That was a
The
mistake.
Vikings.
No, he took the Bears. He said, "I'm going to take the Bears."
oh,
and
I
win
took
this
the
game."
Vikings.
You took the Vikings, and then I said, "I'm going to take the Bears" because he's taking the Bears.
That was a mistake. Nathan Peterman, Tim Boyle. I still think Minnesota's one of the weakest playoff teams.
True.
That's just me.
They put 29 points on a
awful defense.
On a fucking team that
Piss
didn't have
rag.
any starters playing except for Montgomery. So it is what
The
it
Chicago
is.
Bears. The Chicago Bears are the NFL equivalent to a jerk sock.
They need receivers so bad. I don't think there's a team out there that needs a receiver more than the Chicago Bears.
Hey, and you want to know what? This changes some things because, I mean, they're picking number 1 overall. They don't need one of the quarterbacks. I'm sure somebody's going to want to trade the house to get up to that number 1 spot.
Somebody that needs quarterbacks going to want to go up.
Yeah, the Colts.
Yeah.
The Jets.
Yeah.
The Panthers.
Yeah.
The Saints.
You know what? I think the Panthers like Sam Darnold. I don't. They have other pressing issues on their team. Yeah, whatever. Maybe the fucking Buccaneers will be looking for a quarterback too.
I don't think so.
They need to.
The only way the Buccaneers are going to be looking for a quarterback is if the 49ers aren't.
I would look for a quarterback if I was them.
Anyways. Next up. In a game that we're going to see deja vu of this weekend, the Ravens went to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. Bengals were in control of this game pretty much the whole time. I mean,
I was kind of shocked on how many guys did not play in this game for Baltimore.
Everybody's hurt.
Huh?
I mean, Lamar Jackson hurt. Huntley hurt. So now you're down to your third quarterback, who is Anthony Brown, who realistically did not have that awful of a game.
I actually think he's better than Huntley.
I think he is too. You really missed J.K. Dobbins in this one. Sammy Watkins, leading receiver outside of Likely, who's a tight end, but as wide receivers goes,
on one catch that he fumbled on.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, their chances of looking like they're gonna last long in the playoffs. Sorry.
Well, I will say this:
they're out next week.
They kept all of fucking Cincinnati's guys in there trying to pull this game out, and you know, if Lamar Jackson is playing next week, and hopefully you can see a good I don't think you're going to see a good version of him regardless. They should take care of business here. Cincinnati, that is. They should.
Cincinnati, yeah. Burrow didn't look all that great yesterday. Mixon couldn't run the ball worth a shit. I will say Baltimore's defense, I think seeing Cincinnati as many times as they have and do, makes Cincinnati struggle a little bit. If Lamar Jackson plays next week, it might be a little tighter of a game. At the end of the day, Cincinnati's just a much better team. We know all of the Ravens' problems. They're well documented. I agree with you 1,000%. If we see Lamar, we're going to see a very shitty version of Lamar. If we see J.K. Dobbins, we're going to see a shitty version of J.K. Dobbins. And as long as their big threat receiver is Sammy Watkins or Deshaun Jackson, and this isn't 2009 anymore, so this is the result that they're going to get.
Well, we'll see.
Okay. Next up, the Texans headed to Indianapolis to play the Colts. With 2 wins on their record, they decided to pick one more up, knock themselves out of the first overall pick. I mean, my God, Davis Mills, 22 for 38, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. Sam Ellinger, 23 for 35, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions to go along with that. What do you think both of these teams need to do to get the proper building blocks in order for next year? Because Davis Mills is not the worst quarterback in the league. Sam Ellinger, I don't know if anybody has any faith in this guy.
I will say this.
What do you think?
I've watched Sam Ellinger play a few games. He's better than Malik Willis.
Listen to me. If you're using Malik Willis as the comparative bar for quarterbacks, that's like saying,
I actually think either one of these guys is better than fucking Zach Wilson.
There you go. That's a better.
Again.
Is that better?
No, I think that's
Zach
better.
Zach Wilson
That's
was
better.
a first-round pick. Zach Wilson was a first-round pick.
Zach Wilson and Malik Willis are the hemorrhoid equivalent to NFL quarterbacks. It's like saying, oh, I have hemorrhoids, and be like, oh, that's a great time. At the end of the day, it doesn't get any
the
worse.
Texans
than
got
those
lucky
two
they
currently.
pulled this game out. They had a fluke play at the end, went through the guy's
Absolutely.
hands. They caught the touchdown. They get the 2-point conversion. And Lovie Smith, from what I heard, Lovie Smith knew he was out before this fucking game even started.
Probably.
And he gave him the big fuck you right at the end. He went
you.
for 2. They got it. They win. And bam, Chicago gets the first-round pick. The owner was not fucking happy. The owner of the Texans, which, you know what? If I was anybody in the NFL, I wouldn't give a fuck what he thinks. I would have done the same thing if I was Lovie Smith. God bless Lovie Smith.
There it is.
God bless him.
There it is.
Fuck that.
What a guy.
Fuck that shit. They told him before this game even started that they were moving on from him.
You think so?
They did. That's what the reports are out there. I don't know how true it is, but this is some of the reports I've been hearing for the past 6-7 hours.
I'll say this. I don't understand why. I feel like when you give, realistically, the Texans were the least talented team in the NFL.
It's one and done
we all
every year
agree?
there. I mean, if you're not going to give anybody a legitimate opportunity to change your ball club, you're wasting your fucking time, man. You're just paying coach after coach after. They're still paying on the coach from what was there last year, and now
I'm aware.
because Lovie Smith had a 3-year contract, they're going to be paying him for the next 2 years. So what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. Lovie Smith had these guys actually starting to play well the last 5 weeks of the season. Were they winning all these games? No, but you've seen vast improvement. The whole point of it is you got to see improvement. And if you don't, then I would say you move on. A guy
Agreed.
like Cliff Kingsbury should have been the first guy fucking fired this year. And he still has his fucking job.
And
As
I
of
think
right
he
now.
will.
I haven't heard
I think
anything
he'll
different.
continue to have his job.
Because his team
Personally.
basically, he's lost his team.
I agree, but I think he'll still keep his job.
I don't understand why. He doesn't get along with the quarterback that's there. Move the fuck on. I mean, it is what it is, dude. You know?
Do you
Kevin
think Jeff
Stefanski.
Saturday?
Is Kevin Stefanski going to get a really legitimate shot at being a head coach? Or is he going to get fucking booted before next year?
No. Well,
For the
before
Browns.
we go there, I
Yeah.
know. before we go there, I think he will.
All right, well
will.
let's finish this up then. I mean, it is what it is. God bless Lovie Smith.
Okay.
They got the second pick overall.
Do you think Jeff Saturday will be back next year? Do you
No.
think
No,
Jim
I do
Irsay's that drunk?
I don't know how you can honestly say that he's earned the right to be the coach of that team. I don't know how that could honestly be even thought about, because they haven't just lost; they've lost in fucking horrible fucking manner at least 5 times this year since he's been the coach.
You don't think between a fifth of whiskey, Jeff Saturday sitting there talking about how
No, I don't. You want to know why?
Because
Because I think Jim Irsay is going to be hosting Jim Harbaugh within the next week here, and they're going to try to figure out what they're going to do there.
Harbaugh's going to Denver tomorrow.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Do you think Harbaugh walks out of there without taking?
Oh, I see Harbaugh walking out of Michigan. You don't think Harbaugh's leaving Michigan? Y'all are crazy.
I just got another notification. The Broncos requested permission to speak with Dan Quinn.
Okay.
So
the Broncos are going to be talking to a lot of guys, dude.
Yeah, because they got money.
They got to figure something out.
They got money to blow.
They got to figure something out.
Going forward, between these two shit bucket organizations, the Texans and the Colts, who do you think has a brighter immediate future?
I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm not a big fan of the ownership there. I think the Texans. I think the Texans have to make it. They got a shit ton of young talent on their team because they're picking at the top of the draft every year. They have a shit ton of talent. They just need somebody to put it together for them. They really do. They need guidance. They need somebody to put that team together.
They need a good veteran quarterback.
I think they would do a lot better if they had one. A guy like Derek Carr or somebody like. I think that would be a good place for him. His brother played there. I know their family, you know, that they get along with everybody in the Houston organization. I would say that'd be the best place for Derek Carr.
I agree.
He needs help offensively. They don't have a lot of weapons there, but they got a good young running back. They've got a decent offensive line who's been playing better as of late. They have some guys that are pretty good, Nico Collins and stuff. They got guys that have potential there. They need a quarterback that's been around the corner, that's seen shit, so he can evaluate everything.
Where'd you go?
Sorry. Dropped the computer. My bad. Shall we move on?
Yes.
The Miami Dolphins bought themselves a playoff spot yesterday against the Jets in a game that was absolutely awful. The Skylar Thompson versus Joe Flacco affair. With the Patriots getting eliminated, Miami hopped up into that spot because they won. I really thought this game Miami was going to drop and the Steelers were going to get in. There's a very simple equation here for Miami. If you have to start Teddy Bridgewater, Skylar Thompson, you will lose in the first round and you'll be done.
Correct.
If they can screw Tua's head back on and ship him out there to play this week.
And they don't have a lot of time. He needs to be out of protocol by tomorrow.
Yeah.
So he can actually be out of protocol and practice. And so
guess what?
He ain't a dud when he comes out there.
Guess what? If they can get him out there and he is healthy enough, I'm not going to say healthy, I'm going to say healthy enough, they can beat anybody. We've seen it. We've watched this team that put up 11 yesterday and looked awful, put up 50 and looked great.
You know what? I think a lot of that had to do with that Jets defense. That Jets defense is no joke. These guys are very good. The offense was totally, as you say, impotent. They could not run the fucking football. They could not run the football, and the Jets predicate their offense around the running game, and that's why they were absolute dog shit. They ran the ball for a total of 38 yards. You are not going to win a football game with and they got fucking crushed by at least fucking 12 minutes in time of possession to a team that fucking throws the ball all over the field. What the frick? I mean, you can't fucking do it.
Yeah, bombs then a frick.
Frick. What the fuck?
Exactly.
It's real simple. This is not a difficult equation to figure out. The Jets need a quarterback.
Yes.
That's it. Joe Flacco's awful. He's fucking old as shit.
Skylar Thompson threw the ball for 152 yards.
I'm aware
against that defense. That, you know, and some of them plays were like, oops. I don't even think he meant to do that.
Mike Gesicki led the team in receiving.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't play well either.
Mike Gesicki was the leading receiver with 4 catches for 46 yards.
I know. It's awful.
That's crazy. Are you kidding me?
The thing is, the Dolphins have their franchise quarterback in concussion protocol. The Jets just have garbage.
Garrett Wilson was a man-child yesterday.
He
was trying to gut them out a win.
Yes,
and I'll give him that. And I'll say this about Joe Flacco. I know Joe's old and whatnot, but he gave it his all against he was getting blitzed and he was getting knocked around and he stood in there pretty tough. And at least he didn't turn the ball over. I mean,
bingo.
That's all I can say. He didn't turn the ball over.
Agree. You know. So the Dolphins are dancing. They are playoff bound, and they.
I truly believe that if, like you said, if Tua's not quarterbacking this team, they're out.
Correct.
Yeah,
especially going into Buffalo.
And making it was really nice and everything and cute, but
yeah,
they're done.
Yeah, they're done. If Tua plays against Buffalo, I think we have a whole different conversation.
Yes. They got a chance to beat Buffalo if Tua's playing. If he's not playing, forget it. Throw the dirt on him.
Yep. Next up, the Panthers beat the Saints 10-7. Moving on.
Thank you.
Say that again.
The Panthers beat the Saints 10-7.
Yes.
Moving on.
Okay.
Next up, the Cleveland Browns headed to Pittsburgh.
I think that's a team that might be looking for a head coach too.
The Browns?
No.
Pittsburgh?
The Saints. I think the Saints would be looking for a head coach. I don't know if the Panthers are going to bring back that guy. I thought he had them guys playing pretty well. I really did.
I think the Panthers will bring Wilkes back. Okay. In a game that did have some playoff ramifications to it, if Miami would have lost, it would have came down to this game. And you want to know what's kind of fucked up? The Browns got their quarterback. The Browns utilized Nick Chubb, and they still got punched in the mouth. And honest to God, that's a true testament, I think, to how good Pittsburgh has gotten over the last 2 months. Kenny Pickett looked precise. I mean, Najee Harris ran the ball pretty well. The Pittsburgh Steelers came up with the perfect equation to beat their divisional opponents, in my opinion. Also,
I think Mike Tomlin did a great job with this team because we picked them to finish in the basement. Huh?
I thought they would be at the absolute fucking bottom.
So I don't think he did a bad job at all coaching this team. This young, very, very young team.
Does the outlook for you look any different for the Browns going forward? Or is this what we can expect?
I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I actually think Russell Wilson looks better than fucking Deshaun Watson at this point. Deshaun Watson looked like I was just like, what the actual
awful, dude.
Fuck? Watching this guy, one throw will look fucking good, and then the next 5 look like, holy fuck, he can't hit the fucking broadside of the stadium. I was like, what the fuck?
I agree with you. And I mean,
you know, and I know it's got to be frustrating. Listen, when you got a quarterback that can't get his receivers the ball, and you're seeing receivers reacting because of that, That's a bad thing, not a good thing. And I will say this, I like Kenny Pickett, but Kenny Pickett left a lot of points on the field yesterday. I was like, what the fuck? He had guys wide open downfield and just couldn't get it, didn't see it.
With Kenny Pickett, I think what we saw is just the inexperience of it all.
Yes.
I think going forward, I like Pittsburgh's receiving core. If Najee Harris can stay healthy, they have a solid running back. And I think Kenny Pickett next year will really come into his own a little bit.
I think they really need to concentrate on upgrading their offensive line and really getting some guys in there that can fucking block so this kid doesn't get killed. And that will help Najee Harris in that run game too. Because now Najee Harris, people kind of fucking wrote him off about 5 weeks ago. He's got over 1,000 yards, man. He's had a nice fucking year.
Definitely on the bounce back.
Huh?
He's definitely on the bounce back from where he was in the beginning of the year.
I mean, what can you say? I mean, the kid's fucking played hard, man. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
Up next,
the Los Angeles Chargers headed to Denver to play the Broncos in a game that didn't really matter. The Chargers seeding was already pretty much decided.
Man, I'll tell you what, divisional game, dude. Divisional game. Basically, this game had nothing to prove to anybody. Nothing.
Zero.
Huh?
Zero. Yeah, nothing.
The only thing that you could have said from this is the Chargers swept them this year. That would have been the only thing you could fucking say. And guess what? Didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
Russ gutted one out. Russ gutted one out, dude. The best he's looked all year.
Gutted it. I mean, he had 13 completions for 283 yards, 3 touchdowns. He threw 1 pick. He also ran the ball for 18 yards. Latavius Murray.
What can you say about this guy? You realize this guy about 7 years ago is when he was relevant, and he's still in the fucking league?
Yeah.
And still playing at a high level? I don't
15
even know what
for
to say
103
right
and
now.
a touchdown out of Latavius Murray. That's 7 yards per carry. Jerry Jeudy, 5 receptions, 154
that's one thing
yards.
that scares me about the Chargers right there is that a guy like Latavius Murray, who's obviously well past his prime, could run a gash hole through your ass like that.
That's what I'm saying.
That scares me.
You talked about how you like the Chargers in that matchup. I sit here and I think about
But you know what? Etienne
Travis
is not
Etienne.
Latavius Murray. That's what scares me
better
about that.
than Latavius Murray.
Huh?
Etienne's better than Latavius Murray.
I don't know about that. From what I've seen out of him this past week, I don't know. I wouldn't say that right now. He's younger.
Anyways, you had Latavius Murray's
The guy had
balls on
17
your
fucking
shit.
yards this week. Murray went over 100 against that fucking defense there.
Austin Eckler had 34 yards of rushing this week. Are we going to sit here and write him off too?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
How many yards receiving did Eckler have?
4. Oh, no, 36. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is what it is. Denver's got a lot of shit to do. They got Jim Harbaugh coming in there for an interview this week. We'll see what happens there. The Chargers are moving on to the playoffs. Can't wait. They're in a huge matchup this week. And I don't know.
Are you putting any merit into
Are
you putting any merit into the Harbaugh to Denver thing? Because I'm not.
I could think you could see it. I think you could see it.
I think he's going to interview with them. Yes, absolutely.
I think.
Yeah, I know he's going to interview with them, but I mean, they could interview HR Puff and stuff,
right?
So, do you think he'll actually go there?
I don't know. He's kind of a weird guy, and I think after everybody talks to him and sees how weird he is, they might have reservations about that.
You don't
So
know, man. Peyton could call them up.
obviously, the Minnesota Vikings did last year. They had reservations about hiring him. So we'll just see what happens. He does not interview well.
Yeah, but are him and
Personally,
Peyton
I think
close?
The biggest story of this game is this. Mike Williams went out hurt. Hopefully this guy can play this week. I think that's the story of this game.
Okay.
All right.
The Giants headed to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. The Eagles needed to win this game. This would have been a situation if they would have lost where the Cowboys could have jumped up and took their spot, or San Francisco could have jumped up and took their spot. So they needed to win this game. Obviously, the Giants didn't play anybody. Kenny Golladay had a touchdown. That shows you how little they cared about this game. They played Davis Webb as the starting QB. I don't think Jalen Hurts.
That Webb kid is gutty.
I don't think Jalen Hurts was 100% himself yesterday.
No, he was missing some pass. He did not look himself. But I think this was good to get him a little game time before the playoffs start. That's all that was.
Yep, and now he gets another 2 weeks off.
Right.
So
AJ
perfect situation for Philadelphia. AJ Brown's AJ Brown is one of those slept on great.
More healthy by the week. The defense looks good. I don't know.
I think the Giants are awful.
I don't think the Giants are that bad. Here's the scary part. I think if Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones played in this game, they would have beat him. Yeah, they would have beat him.
Do you think the Giants?
I don't think the Giants are as bad as you think they are.
Do you think the Giants can beat the Vikings this week?
Yes, I do. In fact, I am taking. You can put this down right now. I am taking the Giants to beat the Vikings at Minnesota.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Could be one of those weeks.
That is a tough one to choose. That is.
I'm taking the Giants to upset them. I think they'll be. I think the Giants will be ready.
I gotta wait later to make a pick on that.
Same. I'm not picking that now.
Yeah.
Okay. The Eagles are the number one seed. What else? What else is to be said, dude? They got the bye week. They're going to rest up. They're going to be ready to go. They don't know who they're facing yet. Who do they face? The winner of who? Tampa and Dallas?
No. They're going to face the lowest seeded winner. So, hypothetically, let's say the Giants do beat Minnesota. Then they'll play the Giants.
Okay.
Or if Dallas beats Tampa, Minnesota wins, San Francisco wins, then they'd play Dallas. So they play whoever the lowest seeded team that wins this week. Yeah.
All right.
Next up, Cardinals headed up to Frisco to play the 49ers. 49ers made very easy work of them. Brock Purdy, 15 for 23 touchdowns, 178. David Blomey, 14 for 18.
I will say this about David Blau at the opening play of the game. When he threw it downfield and A.J. Green absolutely snatched it out of the air, ran by everybody and went in the end zone for the touchdown.
That's probably the play.
Blau had 180 yards passing, 91 of that come on that one play. It was just ridiculous. And I will say this, God bless A.J. Green.
God bless him.
He even made David Blau look legitimate for the first quarter there.
For the first 30 seconds of the game.
Yeah.
49ers, you honestly want to know, they are able to run the ball with 4 different guys. They are able to throw
Mitchell's
the ball
back,
with 5
Elijah
different
Mitchell's
guys.
back.
Yeah,
shit.
I mean, shit is right.
Yeah, I don't know how you stop these guys.
I don't either.
And it's the run game is that I'm talking about. They just run it down your throat. They beat you up physically up front, running the football, and then they just bring this Purdy kid in there, and he just fucking tossing all over the field because they're wide open. The play action, they're wide open every time.
I know. You have
I
to
mean, I
respect
don't
that
even know
run
what to
so
say at
much.
this point. George Kittle
it's an
is
issue.
making a fucking career off the last 4 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
George Kittle's a fucking beast right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the 49ers offense
When you
and
got the
defense,
ball
it's like
10 minutes long, when you're controlling the time of possession by 10 minutes, 10 fucking minutes, my God.
the 49ers look like you created them on Madden right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and realistically, they put up 40 points this week, and the highlight of the team's the defense.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing this with, I mean, does Brock Purdy earn himself a job here next year?
Why not?
It's getting pretty close.
Why not?
I mean, it's
What do you do? Garoppolo's gone. We already know that. Garoppolo's out.
Yeah, but Garoppolo got them.
And what is it? Is it him or Trey Lance? Who would you play?
Purdy.
Exactly. We've seen Trey Lance play for 2 games. We've seen that. What a shit show that was.
But do you think Kyle Shanahan does the whole, oh, we're going to have a quarterback competition, that whole situation?
Do I think he does that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I still think they're bringing a quarterback in. I'm not going to go here right now, but I still think Tom Brady will be the quarterback of that team next year.
Wow.
Yes. Tom Brady. Yes.
Wow.
Quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. Yes.
God, that's
I thought he was
sexy.
supposed to retire.
He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He's an egomaniac. He wants to make sure nobody can touch his records. He's a weirdo.
Speaking of weirdos,
He's a fucking
The
weirdo.
Rams
It is
headed
what
up
it is,
Hard to
dude.
beat his records.
You think I'm wrong about it? Watch. You'll see. You'll see. I don't know. There's 2 places I see Brady going. One is San Francisco. The other one, believe it or not, I think the Raiders. I could see him going to the Raiders. As something about him and the Raiders and what Mark Davis's dad
wanna see
always
him-
said. You know, Al Davis, dude, it was just win, baby. And he was actually cool. His son, Mark Davis, is an absolute freak weirdo. But I could see Devontae Adams, Waller. He's got so many fucking weapons. Josh McDaniels, still the coach. Obviously, Brady has a good rapport with McDaniel. I think he always has. But I could see the 2 places I see Brady going is either 49ers or the Raiders. I think if he goes to the 49ers, he'll win a Super Bowl right away. Right away. I don't think there's any doubting with the way they are right now. There's no way. There's no way they wouldn't.
I think if he went to Frisco, he'd win a Super Bowl next year. And if he went to Vegas, he'd win a Super Bowl next year.
I don't know about with the Vegas thing. I don't know. The
Hold
defense
on.
has got a lot of
Vegas
holes.
Vegas is perfectly set up for Brady to win a Super Bowl, because if they got him in there, they could focus every piece of capital they had on that defense.
They're going to have to use all pieces of capital just to get him, dude.
No, they won't.
Yeah, they will.
Why would they?
They're going to
He'll
cost
take
him $50 million to bring him in, dude.
No, it won't. It won't.
All right.
If he wants out bad enough and he likes the situation, he'll take.
He
the
needs to
cut.
get out of Tampa. You know that as well as I do.
Do you want me to be honest with you?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to leave Tampa. I think Todd Bowles is going to leave Tampa.
Well, I don't think, regardless if Todd Bowles leaves Tampa, still, I mean, what are you going to do as far as a fucking coach goes? What are you going to try? What, bring in the dusted off body of Sean Payton? Who gives a shit about Sean Payton? Why don't they just hire Mike McCarthy? Because when he gets exited out of the first round, when Mike McCarthy loses this game this week against Tampa, he should be fired. He should fucking be fired.
Will Jerry Jones fire him this week?
He will. You know what? I think Jerry Jones needs to do it on national TV. Right at the end of the game, just put a big fucking thing on the scoreboard. Mike, it's been nice having you here, but you're fired.
Like Donald Trump on The Apprentice.
That's it. You're fired.
Get the fuck out.
Mike, you're fired. Get out.
Here we go. In a game that meant everything for Lions fans around the world.
Fucking shit.
The Rams
Motherfucker.
headed up to play another weirdo. Pete Carroll
Dude,
and the
he
Seahawks.
is weird. He's so fucking weird. You
I
watch him
hate
on the
Pete Carroll
sidelines.
so bad, dude.
He's fucking
when
weird.
he was doing the little rah-rah, throwing his arms up in the air so the crowd would get
He's
loud.
got to move his whole upper
Dude,
body to get his arms up.
If I was in that crowd, I would have fired a fucking beer bottle at him. I can't stand him. Fucking weirdo. Fuck. Cheater.
The Seahawks won the game, eliminated the Lions from playoff contention. And then the Lions went on, did what they had to do, beat the Packers, eliminated the Packers from playoff contention, which defaulted the Seahawks into that 7th spot.
Yeah, it hurt hearing Geno Smith say, go Lions at the end of that game, but no.
Whatever. 19 of 31, 213, a touchdown and 2 picks. Should have been 3 picks because 2 of them were dropped.
Kenneth Walker. We need to talk about Kenneth Walker. He is going to be a absolute fucking stud in this league for a lot of years to come.
I think so too.
Yep. The way he runs the football, man, it's pretty. It's pretty. Realistically, for me, he is the high point of the Seahawks. The offense, they should build this team around him. Do I think Geno Smith is the long-term answer here?
No.
Probably not. Will Pete Carroll try and make it that? Probably.
The Seahawks were 1 of 11 from 3rd down.
Mm-hmm.
That's all on Geno. Huh?
Awful.
Yeah,
the
awful.
Seahawks are the worst team in the playoffs.
He threw for 205 yards, Geno. Yeah. Against a team that basically is fucking decimated with injuries, defensively and offensively.
Yep. Well, speaking of the Rams, Sean McVay said he is completely uncertain about
gone.
whether or not he will be
I don't
back
think he's
next year.
coming back.
I don't think
he's
so
coming back because he doesn't want to go through a rebuild. And they offered him that huge contract to do TV stuff. I don't see him going back there.
I mean, I think if Sean McVay walks away, you see Aaron Donald go. You see Bobby Wagner go. Like, you're going to see a lot of these guys retire. I think you're going to see a lot of like the not as big names walk away. Like,
I just hope to God they don't get that defensive. Who's that? Spagnola, their fucking defensive coordinator. I hope this clown doesn't get another shot at being a coach. Get a fucking real coach in there, huh?
I don't think he will. I know Jalen Ramsey's contract's coming up. Like,
well,
that could be
they're in how would you call it?
Financial
Salary cap
turmoil.
Purgatory.
Yeah,
hell. They're fucking screwed. They're going to lose a lot of guys.
Yeah. Next up, the Washington Commanders put one last mushroom stamp on this year. Sam Howell looking.
Well, what did you think of Sam Howell yesterday?
I mean, decent.
I thought he was gritty.
Decent.
He kind of reminded me of Heineke.
He did. He reminded me of
Heineke, dude.
Yeah, I agree. Washington essentially played every backup they had. Powell.
Jared Patterson finally got an opportunity to play.
Jared Patterson looked pretty fucking good yesterday.
Let me tell you something about Jared Patterson you guys probably doesn't know. He went to the University of Buffalo in the MAC. Okay. He had 2 games. In 2 games, he had 800 yards rushing in 2 games.
So he had 400 yards a game.
Yes, in the MAC.
Wow.
Yes.
Terry McLaurin, 3 receptions, 74 and a touch. Jahan Dotson, 3 for 72. Everybody else sat. And Washington was able to beat Dallas by 20.
Washington did play their a lot of their defensive starters. Offensively,
big deal.
You know, is what it is.
At the end of the day, let's be real here. Dallas fucking played everybody. Dak Prescott
they did.
Looked fucking awful.
Dak Prescott,
even for Dak
14 of 37, 128 yards, a touchdown and a pick. And actually should have had 2 more picks, but they dropped them.
Tony Pollard, 7 for 19. Zeke Elliott, 8 for 10.
The only bright spot was C.D. Lamb. 5 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown.
And I mean,
That's
that's
it.
even a slow week for him.
And their vaunted kick returner, what he fucking turned the ball over. I think he turned the ball over twice. That guy was trash.
Turpin, yeah.
Yeah.
Guess what? I just pray we see that same Cowboys team
You're
come out
just
next
happy
week.
because Tampa's playing the fucking Cowboys. That's all you're happy about.
Yes, I am. I'm thrilled.
You better hope to God they're as shitty as they were fucking yesterday.
And finally, to wrap up week 18, to wrap up the regular season, the Lions headed to Green Bay to play the Packers. And everybody in the world picked Green Bay in this game. I picked
Green Bay.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. The Lions defense stepped up big. Jared Goff looked precise. Jamal Williams looked like he was shot out of a cannon. And the Lions were able to win this game 20-16, even after knowing that Seattle had won and they were eliminated from playoff contention. Their one goal was to spoil the Packers season as well, and they did that. Jared Goff, 23 for 34, 224 yards. Jamal Williams, 16 for 72 and 2 touchdowns. Khalif Raymond had a nice little game. As far as the Packers go,
the end zone.
Rodgers, 17 for 27, 205, 1 and 2. Aaron Jones, 12 for 48 and a fumble. Christian Watson, in my opinion, one of the best young receivers in the league right now, 5 for 104. Do you think the Packers will be better next year?
It all depends. Depends on if Rodgers is coming back or not.
He's coming back. He's coming
he
back.
Said maybe not.
Yeah.
He's coming back.
All right. Well,
he does this every year.
If Aaron Rodgers comes back, they're fine. If Jordan Love is the quarterback next year, they're in fucking trouble. Now,
my next question.
Yes.
Let's look at this Lions team right now. Season's over. They exceeded my expectations.
I think they exceeded everybody's expectations.
I agree. And I think for the first time in a long time,
the future is bright.
We can say this team looks for real. So, do you think this team's a playoff team next year?
It all depends. They need to make some move. Listen, let's be realistic. If Aaron Glenn is the defensive coordinator next year, do you think that they're in this position?
Well, see, you sit here and you say,
do you think they're in a position to win this division next year with Eric Glenn as their defensive coordinator?
They won 8 of the last 10. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think so? You like Aaron Glenn going forward? Because, he's learning on a job just like Dan Campbell.
Do I like Aaron Glenn going forward? No, I don't like Aaron Glenn going forward. But when a team finishes the year winning 8 of 10, do you break up the band?
No, I don't think you do.
I don't think so either.
But if you have a chance to upgrade as a coach or a player, you have to take that opportunity.
Listen, let's be real here. We're not even having this conversation if they don't forget how to run stop against Carolina.
Right.
I mean, or, it was that close. That loss to
I agree
Minnesota
with what you're
by
saying.
4.
I do.
The loss to Seattle by a field goal. Think about how important that game was now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think next year
it's going to be exciting.
The Lions compete for the division. Barring they don't lose somebody massive.
Yeah. Barring injury, I mean, here's the thing though. Going forward, I think Detroit needs to do some serious work on their depth. They don't have a lot of depth. I think their depth at quarterback is very bad. Nothing against Nate Sudfeld, but I think they need to get a quarterback in here.
You have a lot
of guy like
that you can shop.
Huh?
So you have a lot of young guys that stepped up.
There's a lot of young guys that got a lot of opportunity to play because there's no depth on this team. And that's key for them going into next year, that they build some depth. I really think that.
you've got to trim some fat here.
Yeah.
You have to.
You have to.
I mean,
number one, your
realistically,
offensive line is the highest paid offensive line in football. At what point do you got to address that? If you don't address that, you're going to be in trouble moving forward. You're not going to be able to afford paying the skill position players you have that are going to come up for money here. Jamal Williams, free agent. So if you're going to keep this guy, do you pay him big money or do you kind of just move on from him? He's like the heart and soul of the team. I think if you lose a guy like that, you could be in trouble.
I don't think Jamal Williams is going anywhere.
No,
Jamal Williams strikes me as one of those guys who's going to work with the organization to make sure he stays.
But you know what? The business part of it, dude,
he doesn't care.
That might be too much for them to handle to keep him. You're going to have to pay him because somebody else will pay him because he's a good goal line, short yardage power back. Somebody who has a bell cow back like a team like the New York Jets that have a guy like Breece Hall would love to have a guy like Jamal Williams behind him.
I agree.
So you're going to have to make hard decisions this year. You're going to have to make a hard decision. Who do you keep? Who goes? Are you going to keep Taylor Decker is a top 5 paid or top 3 paid tackle in this league?
He's some of the fat that should be gone.
I agree.
Huh?
He's some of the fat that should be gone.
Well,
as much as I love him, but yeah, he's.
Oh, that's the thing. If you decide to do that with him, where does that leave you? Where does that leave you? Then you're going to have to draft O-line, or you sign a fucking free agent. Listen, in free agency, all you're doing is picking up somebody else's garbage. Unless you're going to sign a premier guy in this fucking league that is at a decent age, not over the hill, you're going to pay big money for him. It's either you do it from the draft or you do it from free agency. I say if we can't afford to pay this guy no more, dude, send him on his way. Don't sit here and play fucking games. Ragnow's contract is a very heavy contract. His contract is a very heavy contract. They don't have to pay Sewell yet. They don't have to pay him or the cat they got from Ohio State. What's his name? The big dude. The other guard they got. He made All-Pro last year. Drawing a blank here. 73.
Oh,
I don't even know.
I don't know.
you can tell Uncle Sam.
Huh?
The guy, his name starts with V. He has been hurt all
Not
year?
Vaitai, no. Oh. No, it's not Vaitai. Who's the guard that they have? He made the Pro Bowl last year.
Jonah Jackson.
Oh.
Jonah, you don't have to pay Jackson. You don't have to pay Sewell yet. Ragnow's making a shit ton of money, and so is Taylor Decker. So you're going to have to figure out what the fuck you're going to do with those two guys. I personally think you pay fucking Ragnow. He's a big fucker in the middle there. Yeah. He's the one that makes it all go. If you don't have him, you're in trouble. But although Decker has played very well on that left side this year. But you can push Sewell to the left, and you can put Skipper in at right tackle, and I think you could still get away with it.
Dan Skipper.
I still think you could get away with having a very good offensive line.
Well, there's still a lot of time. You never know what they're going to do.
I still think they need a running back. They need a running back that is actually a bell cow.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Jamal Williams broke Barry Sanders' touchdown record.
I know he did, dude. He barely broke 1,000 yards. Listen, he barely broke 1,000 yards this year.
He split time.
Dude. Two different guys. Dude,
he barely broke 1,000 yards this year. As your aspect, from your view on him, he's 3.2 yards per carry, 3.4 yards per carry. That's what he is.
Guess what?
Okay?
He's
not
what
that
he
guy.
is.
He is not Kenneth Walker. He is not fucking Najee Harris. He's not anything like those guys.
The
They don't
Lions
need a
shot
Kevlar.
their shot on that, and it was DeAndre Swift, and it didn't fucking work. And then the Lions should not go for a running back because
Well, they
it
still
doesn't
got
work.
Swift for 2 more years.
Exactly. You need to invest in some good young offensive linemen, and you invest everything else in that defense. That's what you do.
You
You
protect.
don't
The draft
reinvent
needs to
the
be
wheel.
invested in the defense, period.
If they do anything outside of defense and offensive line help, your offense in a whole, beautiful.
Golden.
If you could add some pieces in your offensive line to save money, do it. Other than that, you don't touch anything because you won 8-10. You lost to the Bills by a field goal. You lost to the Seahawks by a field goal, and you worked it all out. Don't reinvent the wheel.
I agree.
Yeah.
I still need they need to address all their defensive line, interior defensive line, and I'd like to see them address their linebacker core. The linebacker core needs to be addressed.
You got to trim the fat
It's
there.
the giant pink fucking elephant in the room.
Alex.
If you don't get yourself some real linebackers, you're going to be in trouble. And their secondary. I think the secondary, they need to invest in the secondary.
Listen, they need a defense.
You agree?
They need every defensive position
Let me
outside of
ask you
wherever
a
Aiden
question.
Hutchinson
They're picking
plays.
at 6, okay? And I'm going to say this for a scenario. And I'm just going to throw out some picks here. At 1, Chicago takes Paris Johnson. He's a tackle from Ohio State. He's the best offensive lineman in this draft. Do you see Chicago doing that?
No,
Okay.
it's Chicago trading out.
You think they'll trade down?
Yeah.
You got the Texans at 2, take Stroud.
Yep.
The Cardinals taking Jalen Carter at 3, defensive tackle from Georgia.
I can see that.
Anthony Richardson, the quarterback of Florida, going to the Colts.
No, he's not going before Bryce Young.
Will Anderson going to the Seahawks,
No.
the edge rusher. And at 6, Bryce Young going to the Detroit Lions.
What fucking Detroit beat reporter wet dream did you find there?
No beat report.
I mean, that's awful.
yeah.
Listen, it's January 9th. We got a lot of playoffs to get through. Do I think there's a situation where the Lions land Bryce Young? No. Would it be awesome? Fuck yes.
Let me ask you a question. If they had that opportunity, would you think they should do that?
Absolutely.
With that pick, take a quarterback?
Absolutely. Yep. No, not a quarterback. Like if Stroud was there, I'd pass.
Yeah, but okay. So let me ask you a question. Does that mean you're good with moving on from Jared Goff?
No, because I don't think you'd move on from Jared Goff next
Well,
year.
I mean, if you're going to take this kid that high,
Surprisingly, I don't.
so what do you do? Sit Bryce Young for a year or 2 here?
Yeah.
So you do
Yeah.
the Aaron Rodgers to him?
Yep.
I would too.
I would. If it's Bryce Young.
Yeah.
If it's any of the other ones, no.
No.
I wouldn't take CJ Stroud in the first round. If he dropped to 32, I wouldn't take him.
CJ Stroud is going in the first 2 picks.
CJ Stroud is the next Troy Smith.
Listen to me. He looked good against
Book
Georgia.
it.
Against
Don't
the
care.
Georgia defense.
Don't care.
He lit them up.
Do not care.
Of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. had a lot to do with that too.
Okay, that's number 1. Yeah, okay. You want to talk about CJ Stroud real quick before we end? Because I know we're going
That's the quarterback.
obscene on time.
This is the quarterbacks from Ohio State. They're throwing 2 top receivers.
He has the best receiving core ever outside of the one that Burrow had at LSU. Let's start there. Okay. Number 2, every single Ohio State quarterback, you can name the list, busts.
Justin Fields.
Bust.
Well, we don't know yet.
The jury's still
I
out
know.
on him.
I know.
Correct.
The jury's still out on him. No, and I agree with you. I mean, when you got guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson to throw to, and guys like Jameis Williams, because he was on that Ohio State team, I get it, dude. I totally get it. These quarterbacks for Ohio State are throwing to top-tier receivers. That's why they put up the numbers they put up.
I agree. Anything else to add today?
No.
Well, it's only 8:00.
Anyway.
7:55.
I got to go to work.
Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Tip Balls, TikTok at Tip Balls Podcast. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple, make sure to check us out on YouTube. Remember to click subscribe. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back with our Super Wild Card Weekend preview. I am so excited. Have a great week. See you soon.